Anything else? What else? What else did you expect? I guess movie cafe news. Has there any post?
No, not a great deal.
Have you sent that thing off the clip?
Yes, we did it yesterday. Well, I took it down to Christine. I checked with her. She was in the bubble, I think, but just called her. She was going out, so.
There's Nick was called this morning.
Yes.
Check. And yeah, the price the check was too much actually. Apparently it's £25 too much. I think it was not 60. So they won't give change.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. Check your business.
Absolutely.
Is there any postage to it? No? No. Oh, no. Press release. Yeah. Wait a minute, Stephen, he's not looking.
What about the kiss? Hey.
Don't think I'll be coming back. You never know who this place is. No, they weren't in. Bubble wrap, and I didn't dare take chance on doing anything else. And Carol being efficient like she cleared all the papers edges off, you know, she put them out for cleaner. So I'm sorry, but anyway,
Okay.
it'll get done.
All right, I'll tell him. Yes, thanks. Now, this is something, Stevie, that's got to be checked at least once a day. All right. Because it's... all these silly people haven't yet got the message that we have our own facts, you see. Sandra Rawlins, well, that's not for us.
Very interesting, but stupid.
Yeah, very interesting. Modern edition. Right. Okay, these guys. It'll be like a beehive out here later on, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's the entrepreneur's name who's in there?
Tell us a little about your office, Petal.
Pardon?
Tell us a little about this wonderful office.
This wonderful office. Oh, well, it was very nice to finish up with my own office over the last few years, I must admit, because the newsroom does get noisy and you can't really concentrate. And it's nice too because it's closer to the person I'm working more closely with, Stuart. It still needs organising, but I'm sure Debbie will have a good time sorting herself out in here. There's a lot of files here that I've managed to empty, so there are cases there for her to fill up with all the paperwork we get reams of.
So you've worked 27 years, and only the last few with your own office.
This is true, yes.
Where have you worked before in the building?
Well, I've always been attached to the newsroom and worked quite close to the news desk on occasion and just monitored the phones that come in and as well as being secretary to the editor. But then the winter holidays took over.
What did you join as?
I joined as secretary to the editor. That was when Mike Roberts was the editorial director. And when he left, Peter Smith took over. And by that time I was also running Mrs Chelmsford, the promotion that was made for the mum in Chelmsford who could stand in for the editor because she was more glamorous, opening plates and doing other presentations. It was quite an organisation to get people to actually nominate their favourite person, and then we would run the contest and get some judges in to select the correct person, and after that I had to organise their programme for the year.
That was a real heyday. Was that during the 60s and 70s?
Yeah, in the 70s and into the 80s. It was started by Eileen Knowles. It was her idea. She took the idea to Mike Roberts. So she started it, and when she left, I took over. And it was a very good thing for the company for a long time, but eventually that kind of contest became old-fashioned, and it wasn't right to select a Mrs Chelmsford.
How many years did it run for?
I can't really recall.
10?
Oh, at least 10, yes. I could check that out in the file.
And you ran it and helped to pick the winner?
I went to interview all the nominees, and I selected, say, 4 or 5 for the actual final, and I asked certain judges who had a close connection with the town to come along and actually do the interviews and selection. So there was always a member of the staff plus 2 independent judges on that panel.
Do you have any anecdotes about Mrs Chelmsford that are printable? Were there any really funny times at all?
Funny times, I can't recall.
Any incidents?
I mean, they're the best people to ask that.
Yes.
But the nicest year for Mrs Chelmsford was obviously 1977. June Godfrey came back for a second term to do that year. She dearly wanted to be in office for the Jubilee, and she'd been a very, very good Mrs Chelmsford. And I did go around on some of her stints on the actual celebration day, right around the town, to some of the street parties and special events. And we hired an old-fashioned car for her to travel in, so she really made an impact as she arrived at some of these street parties. And that was very nice, not only for her, but for the Chronicle, because we got some very good pictures.
That was a highlight, was it?
I think that was the highlight of the Mrs Chelmsford.
Tell us about Eve, an event.
Oh,
How
where
did
do
you
I
get that
start?
idea?
I mean, have you got a couple of days?
Yes, yes.
because it was an incredible thing. I never really thought from the start quite what it was going to be, because I was asked to write a letter to a friend, in effect, and just get people to come along to one or two things. But it grew out of all recognition. And from the odd day trip or promotional day when we had a cookery den, hi Alan, we went through into weekend breaks, and then holidays were longer stays, and then we started taking them abroad, not only to the continent, but our very best one, I think, was a tour of the west of America, where we started at Los Angeles and travelled across. We visited the old town of Calico, the old gold mining town, and as our coach pulled in there, an old sheriff got on board and greeted us and pointed out just up the street to me there was a shop I should go into, and they would print up a poster and put anyone's name on it that I required. So I had them print one of these posters with Dougie Bates' name. He was a real old tease, one of our jolly members, you know, and he was always good for a laugh. So when we all climbed back on board after spending our day in the old gold mining town of Calico, I held up this poster and said, "Anybody recognise this man? He's wanted." And of course it was a picture of Dougie Bates, or it was meant to be, it had his name on it, you know.
It helped you to see the world, didn't it?
Yeah.
But it was very hard work, I would imagine.
Well, that particular tour was hard work for me, especially because I carried quite a lot of dollars on me, which the travel agent had given me for porterage and that kind of thing, which I had to sell at every hotel. And as I booked into every hotel, I would phone ahead to the next one, where we would be travelling to 2 nights later. We stayed in each hotel for 2 nights, and checked that they were expecting us and how our numbers were and so on. And the only time that changed was when we were actually at Grand Canyon, which was absolutely awe-inspiring, the canyon.
Was that the best sight you've ever seen?
Yes, it truly was.
Why?
Because you just cannot imagine its depth and the wonderful colours. Good morning, Helen. What can we do for you?
Stuart.
You're looking for Stuart's in the main office.
Right, thank you.
Yeah, the depth and the colours.
And the wonderful colours. And then I travelled by helicopter, took a helicopter flight over it, and this wonderful, enormous river that you see in the films was just looking like a stream because it was so far down. And then in the sides of the mountains were caves where the Indians used to live years ago. And you just go across forests of fir trees to reach them. Suddenly it falls away beneath you. And it really was a wonderful experience, was the Grand Canyon. We stayed 2 nights in Grand Canyon, but at separate hotels on that particular occasion.
Did you manage to take Peter with you, did you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, of course.
Yes. For all these holidays, I only used my own holiday entitlement. And obviously, Peter came with me because it was our holiday. And he worked every bit as hard as I did. Because there were lots of times when some of the women who were on their own particularly wanted advice on currency and that kind of thing. And they would come to Peter because he was a very reassuring person to have along, you know. Because on most of these holidays, 2/3 were female. Many of them were women on their own. And we gave them that security that they felt that they could travel abroad because they were with a friendly party and there was someone there that they could lean on.
So it was more than just a holiday. It was. It really was the Petal event, wasn't it? And people are going with you and Peter and feeling it's a family.
It was the newspaper, but yes, they certainly did lean on me quite a lot.
And the company's now taken it over, haven't they?
Yes, they have.
So
We've lost the personal touch. It's all now down to the tour operators, and very much a tour operator's courier nowadays, and many of those are excellent. I know because I've been on the trips with them, but some of them really don't. The travel industry, especially the reader holiday industry, can get to grips with
How many
that.
members did you have when you left it, when it became more official?
Official membership, people who had signed forms and said they wanted to be members, was getting on for 7,000. So when you think that that was only 7,000 households, because that was either the wife or the husband joining, and they would bring their partners or their families in many cases. Or if they didn't come, then their married daughter and son would book for
But
something.
surely only a small percentage of those would actually go on a holiday.
That's right.
And it's not a holiday
So
club.
and sometimes it surprised me because there were events I thought we'd sell hundreds of tickets for, and we had a job sometimes to fill a coach. And I shall never know what that was, whether it's because of the competition outside from other sources, possibly, which has grown enormously, just as our reader holidays have grown. We get competition from local radio. And, of course, there are still private individuals that set up their own little groups, you know.
Was it event that lifted Eve, that lifted you out of just being a sort of a secretary, just grounded in Chelmsford? I mean, it has taken you to many places that you wouldn't have gone, never dreamed.
I never could envisage the places I'd travelled to, which were beyond my wildest dreams. I never ever dreamed I'd be able to go to the States.
How many people do you think you've taken abroad?
I'd go to the Greek islands.
Right. How many people?
Can you ring somebody out of America these days?
Okay.
2 weekends in a year to possibly 2 events a week, which might be a weekend break 1 week, and then midweek we'd take off to somewhere abroad.
Did you have time for looking after the editors?
Well, Pete Smith always said he was my secretary in the finish. Because if you remember when we were in, he had his little office in that room, and I was just in the newsroom the other side of the door. And then he would sit at the desk in front of me in the main newsroom. And if I wasn't there, he'd be the next person to answer the phone. So poor Peter was bombarded sometimes by these drunks that he called, as he called my members. And he called us drunks because our pickup route was nearly always based, the pickup points were always based on the nearest pub. So, you know, we would pick up at the White Hart at Springfield and the Red Lion in London.
The Army and Navy.
And the Army and Navy. and so on. So Pete Smith called us a load of drunks, and that he was my secretary. And I think he was, really. Just another one of my wonderful bosses. I mean, they've all been great, haven't they? Our editorial directors. I think we in this department have been very, very fortunate with our bosses.
How do you mean?
In as much as they're all kind and considerate men, and they have quite a big team to look after, and a very, very close budget. I think they do wonders. I do. That's sincere.
What sort of presents have you got here so far? Have you got a couple?
I haven't opened most of my presents. There's a little gift there from one of my colleagues. Some nice chocolates there. I received a box of chocolates also from Anne Pocock yesterday. This is from Kathleen, and this is from Roger. I had a wonderful little cornucopia of flowers in porcelain from Sharon Gladys yesterday. These are wonderful carnations. I really like their 2 colours. And the campanula, which will go in the garden, so it'll be an everlasting reminder.
And this is my present?
Yes. That will be used so much, that video, because it'll go around the family, Steve. I can't thank you enough. Thank you very much.
Would you like to just do a little tour of the company? I think
right now?
Yes, I think it's the best time.
And not tomorrow?
I'd like to get it out the way, so to speak, because I think let's strike while the iron's hot.
But I haven't actually
What do you
said
think?
goodbye.
You haven't said goodbye. Okay, well we'll see. We'll see. What happens after the board do? After the board will do?
I don't have any idea.
Don't have any idea.
They haven't told me what the timetable is.
Okay.
Peter is arriving. That's my husband, and Velda are arriving at 11:15. And what happens then, I'm not sure whether we go into Stuart's office or whether we go...
We'll squeeze it in tomorrow. We could do it over 10-15 minutes.
Yes,
Shouldn't take too long. Just a little goodbye and I'll come round.
Yes, okay. Peter will be bringing the cake that I've made for the buffet today. Hello, Paul.
Here she is.
Come on in.
Oh.
Come on in.
I'm going to start that first.
And are you looking for Stuart?
I'm going to just poach a corner of his table for 10 minutes.
Oh, are you?
Okay.
Okay, fine. Yes. Just you or someone else coming?
No, just me. I'm going to do my post and my signing in here.
Are you?
Yeah. Because I know he'll be out of the way today. He'll be
yes, okay.
doing his usual Thursday morning shuffle
yes,
around the newsroom.
Yes, but also you see, John is away, so he's
Yeah.
doing he's doing the front page, I think, today.
Oh,
He's
well,
playing
we
an
might,
editor today.
might sell a few copies then.
Yeah.
Or maybe we won't.
Yes.
You haven't put Petal off at all?
Yeah, I have. 27th.
Ah, that's your official.
PRH retires.
Oh, right.
That's the actual date I go.
Right.
But I won't be here that day because that's a day's holiday.
Oh, lovely.
Mm.
When, are you planning a little event of your own? Are you planning to go somewhere?
I am, yes. Family and friends, because my brother has a 60th birthday party.
16?
60. My brother will be 60 the day after my birthday. That's next Tuesday. So we're organising a function for him, and when that's out of the way, I shall then have a retirement party of my own. So.
And what about little holidays? Are you planning or waiting till the summer?
No, we're waiting for September because we've been invited to go to the States to visit our friends.
Well, the Clintons.
Our friends are called Holmes. And
That's pretty elementary.
Yes, Holmes, elementary, that's right.
And where do they live?
They live in Michigan, and we are going with them on a trip to New England and Boston in the fall.
How lovely.
Yes.
Have you ever done that before?
No, I haven't done that.
In all your events, you've never...
I've been to Michigan before, but
not
privately.
not New
with
England in
events.
the fall?
No.
Why not? I would have thought that would have been something that
we've
event...
sold it. We have sold it, but I've not been on it.
Right. So you didn't go on every
No,
tour?
I couldn't possibly have gone on everything.
No.
I would never have been here.
What was the problem then?
Oh, I mean, you know, my official post here is editorial secretary, and that's what I've been doing most of the time. The reader holidays got...
Oh, so that rumour's not true then?
The reader holidays started to get in the way too much, really.
What are you planning to do with your leisure time? Have you got grandchildren?
I have 6 grandchildren at present, and a 7th is on its way in July. It's an event for us to all look forward to. Velda's 3rd child. My plans otherwise, personally, I intend taking up upholstery.
You got that sewn up then?
I'm looking for classes in upholstery, because there are 1 or 2 things I'd like to cover properly. So I hope it's something that I take to. And the other thing I plan doing is some watercolour painting. And I really must get fit, Stevie. I really must get fit. You know, I've got to lose some of this.
Well, don't lose some of that.
Sitting around on these chairs doesn't do one a lot of good.
Petal, I've never seen you sitting on a chair.
Right.
Would you like a little message for the Chronicle staff? Would you like to say a few words into this?
Oh, right.
You'd probably say it a couple of times today, but any other
so.
thoughts that you have,
It really has
or...
been a great pleasure to meet so many other people, and I do find them a very friendly crowd to work with. I've got some wonderful colleagues here, and I do intend keeping in touch with some of them. So, my
Lovely.
thanks to everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you soon.
He's not in. He said he would be sitting there, he's not.
Well, you better hang around.
I'll hang around with it, can I?
Where's Stuart?
I can smell paint around. You've got decorators in.
I think it's that coffee. Yeah, we got decorators in there. Are people starting to
Well, he's
gather?
sitting there today. Oh, well, that's
Yeah, they're going to be put through the low was 60 odd quid.
26 years.
Somebody carry yours in?
Yeah. You just stay there. Hey, Snyders! Snyders is here! Just stay there. Stay there. No. Just the bell. You've got to remember that. You've got to put somewhere.
Put it on the feed the cats to help.
No. You've got to put it in the car somewhere. The bell. You go drive all the way to Reigate, and you forget the bell.
Doesn't have to.
No, it's- Yeah, just stay there. Peter, you can go in. Don't say anything about him. All right, come in. Come and do it. Come and do it, yeah. Start now. Yeah, go and do it.
Ho yay, ho yay, ho yay! We are here to honour Petal Hawkins, this good lady who has faithfully served ye Old Essex Chronicle for 27 years. Ho yay, ho yay! Editorial Director Stuart Rawlings will now sing her praises. Ho yay!
Thank you very much. I didn't even know about this. This was a surprise to me. Anyway, thank you, Tony. Yes, is everybody gathered?
You can't be done.
Who else is in the background there? Oh. Hang on.
There's your room upstairs.
Cold feet, run off. And she's very shy. She's very, very shy, you know, my wife.
Is everybody there? Come in.
Has Petal missed that, oh yay?
Come in. Everybody come on in, please. Where are you? Don't stand around. There's plenty of room here.
Come inside.
There's plenty of room over there. Come on.
There's plenty of room around here. John, move round there.
Lead your troops through, John.
Could you all just go through, please?
Dave stand in the background. Come on, Dave.
Right. Okay. Can I just welcome, actually, everybody I think knows Petal Hawkins. Peter, her husband, actually, and Velda, daughter over there, actually, is just making a video recording of this, the proceedings, as they say here. Petal, I think, as everybody knows, and thank you, Tony, for saying it so clearly, has actually been working for the company for some 27 years, which is a considerable amount of time, an effort which she actually has given to the company during those years. She's actually been editorial secretary for all of those years as well, and indeed editor to three editors. So big fun. I'll start again. Secretary to 3 editors, including myself. I don't know if there's Peter here.
I think she's been editor to 3 secretaries. You got it right the first time.
Is that right, Steve?
Right. She's also, most of you will be aware that she's also run the Reader Holidays Club, which was at one point called Eve and now called Event. She also, prior to that, also helped run Mrs Chelmsford operation. Anybody here remember that? I don't know.
Oh, Peter would.
Chris Johnson there. Chris Cohen, I should say.
Right. Now, they actually, the Reader Holidays operation started with actually a memo from a certain person here called Roger Thurlow, who was at that point the training and development editor in the company. Roger, you probably don't remember writing this memo. I found it. It's to a certain other previous managing director and a certain Peter Smith. And it says, I won't take the name. You didn't even type this one, Petal. It says, what the objective is a new Essex Chronicle women's group. Objective to promote the Essex Chronicle series and establish greater links with the community, particularly women readers, through a newly formed women's group. Target date, launch spring 1979. It was. Title, to be decided. Activities would cover visits, guest speakers, lectures, special holiday and theatre trips, fashion shows.
No, no.
It says here each member would pay an initial subscription. It would also have permanent displays featuring group activities. It says such a project would be beneficial in helping launch new titles. Organisation. The group would be run by a newly appointed part-time organiser, preferably with some journalistic experience. 2 to 2.5 days. 2 to 2.5 days, plus some evening weekend work, you know, a bit of that. Additional help to come from existing editorial staff. It says at the bottom here, there's a footnote, this paper is presented only as a basis for discussion. Well, it became a basis of discussion because Petal Hawkins was taken on as the Eve organiser, Petal at that stage. I now refer to another document, actually, entitled The Petal Hawkins Story, and it's by, some people will remember, Veronica Dodson. It says here, and I quote, that you got your present job because you were particularly suited to it. This is referring to, I think, both the event as it became organiser and indeed editorial secretary. There's little, actually, Petal, I can say to sum up your charm, enthusiasm, the great work you've put in, not actually something which can't actually be quantified, and that's actually representing the company outside. And that's something which is personally a very special person to do. That, I think, is difficult to quantify. Apart from the fact that you've been helping me here for the last 3.5 years, helping actually to organise me. But that's a different story.
That's why she's retiring.
Thank you. I actually, when I took over here, didn't actually envisage retiring. It was just one of those things. It does not need to retire. She's too young to retire. But all we can say. But Petal, thank you very much indeed for all your help, personally for me, and I think I speak on behalf of the editorial team and on behalf of the company. Say thank you very much indeed for all your years here. I think actually Petal did remind me that when she arrived here as part-time editorial secretary, actually I was chief reporter here. She also mentioned that she came to my 21st birthday. A couple of years ago. So, for Petal, on behalf of all the staff here, I think can we just say thank you to you. Where are we? What have we got? Who's next? We have all the staff in the company have actually pulled resources, and I hope this is something which Roger may want to say a few words about.
I think, Petal, all I would say at this is from your friends at the Essex Chronicle, and we do wish you, with Peter, a very long, a very healthy and a very happy life.
Money left over. Really? And this is Petal likes her garden, and this is a superstar rose. She's been our superstar.
My job, that's right. Was it me away if I stick that there?
They might think it's mine.
You would. When we take you out Monday morning to pick up an important document,
the event of the year on my 60th.
Petal,
Thank you very much.
will you know I'm taller than Roger?
We will be going on to some other presentations. Can I just mention? Can I just mention somebody else actually? And Petal, I'll allow you to say something if you wish in a moment. But can I just, on behalf of the directors, just say something? A thank you actually to Peter.
Behind every great woman.
Peter, can I just mention Peter actually retired to look after the home some time ago.
I can't wait to hand it all back to him.
And I've often taken calls from Peter to say, is Petal there because the dinner's ready?
And he keeps saying she's down the pub again.
Peter, thank you very much indeed for your support for Petal over the years.
Thanks for looking after. She's enjoyed it.
Can I just...
I just hope she's going to go on and enjoy her retirement.
Ah, right. Sorry, just before we go, well, just before we do something else, I don't know, move on. A certain gentleman here, who some may remember, I think wishes to say something.
Yeah. Well, I should have been the gorilla gram, but
You don't have to put it on.
I had to find my suit. Anyway, I've got this little poem here, which I might have altered in one or two places, but right, okay. It's a once popular song. Okay.
Ah, bless him.
You were Eve, I was Adam. I thought you were right, madam. Ah, yes, I remember it well. You were a flower, I was a vine. Your career has been divine. Ah, yes, I remember it well. You wrote events, I did TV. The mistakes were always down to me. Ah, yes, I remember it well. You went abroad. I had some jolly jaunts and found some interesting little haunts. Ah, yes, I remember it well. You were in pink. I was in tights. Who wrote this? It caused the newsroom such delight. I remember it well. I chewed my garlic. You sipped your tonic at the Chronic. Ah, yes, I remember it well. You kept good order in editorial. Sometimes the effort was purgatorial. Ah, yes, I remember it well. You worked with Mike Roberts and ended with Stewart. Petal, you've been a stalwart. And we all will remember you well. Gave me while I was here. I needed it. And also, I wish you a happy retirement, and I hope it's going to be as good for you as it is for me.
Thank you.
Oh, he's pulling my legs. Usual. It doesn't change, does it? Okay, so now it's going to me. It's wonderful to see so many of you here. Thank you very much for making the effort to come. And for me, this has been a very strange week. Today particularly, I feel a bit in limbo. But it's one of very mixed emotions. It began on Friday last, when over lunch I enjoyed reminiscing and some great laughs with colleagues from the Red Gazette. Again, lunch on Monday was a very pleasant affair. The editorial team gathered to spoil me, and they were both memorable occasions, of which there have been many over the years. But when I joined the company, and that was February 9, 1970, little did I realise I'd still be here. My son, John, had just started school. I'm hoping John will arrive later so you'll get a chance to see him. He's 6 foot now. While Peter worked late evenings, I became bored. I had to find that little job, just for a couple of years, and also in order that we might afford a holiday. So that's ironic, isn't it? As most of you know, Mike Roberts was the editor, and Peter Smith took over from him. And for some years, I organised the Essex Chronicle Mrs Chelmsford contests and arranged their programmes. There are still a couple of members of staff who will also recall turning out as Chronicle girls. I could see. I've been editorial secretary for about 9 years when John Saxton and Peter Smith persuaded me to become the Women's Circle organiser. That started with day trips to stately homes and concerts and ballet and theatre. You know the story, I don't need really to go on. And I can't say that there were not 1 or 2 hiccups along the way. Like the time when we failed to sell most of the tickets for a show. The King and I, starring Susan Hampshire, was popular, except it seemed with the Chronicle readers. To my surprise, the theatre box office actually agreed to sell what tickets of ours they could. So Peter and I arrived at the theatre early that evening to see how the tickets had gone. Well, the money was just handed over the counter to us in heaps, and we had to stand and count hundreds of pounds as quickly as we could in full view of the packed booking hall.
I remember it well.
We were both on tenterhooks all through the evening with all this company money in our pockets. And nevertheless, we were relieved that the tickets were sold. And that was always the risk with theatre and concert tickets. Fortunately, that's all changed now. When microwave ovens were a new and mysterious aid for housewives, not that long ago, you know, I arranged for the very first microwave cookery demonstration in the area. The weekend breaks soon progressed into 2-week and long-haul holidays. By now, I was enjoying holidays to destinations I had only read about. So, did you hear the tale of the coach that never arrived? That's the day not only Peter and I, but 40 of our readers will never forget. In order to catch an early morning flight to Corfu, we were due to meet the coach first at Chelmsford Station at 4 a.m. and at other points along the route to Billericay, Brentwood and Romford by 5 a.m. When the vehicle hadn't arrived within 10 minutes, I tried phoning the depot, but it was not open at that early hour. The nearest Eastern National depot open was at Brentwood, and then not until 5 o'clock. So I organised a taxi shuttle service to the depot, and I phoned the airport to advise them of our difficulty. When we reached Brentwood, the bus depot fat controller laid on a suitable vehicle for our journey to Gatwick. The faith of those passengers waiting at Romford amazed me, because they weren't involved in this shuttle service, you see. They were still waiting for us, and instead of panicking or making their own way to the airport, as most people would, they were still waiting there at their allotted pickups. And as they climbed on board the coach at Gidea Park and Romford, 1.5 hours late, they told me, "We knew you'd arrive eventually." What's more, the airplane had waited for us too. We reached Gatwick at take-off time. I dashed to the check-in desk, and was advised to get my party to check in quickly and proceed directly to the aircraft. There were some very frosty looks from passengers as we boarded, I can tell you, but that's not all. The pilot lost yet another slot time because we were waiting for just 3 people. They arrived 20 minutes later because they had stopped for the duty-free. And apparently the coach driver of the original coach had gone sick and no one had bothered to log it. So the Eastern National Coach Company organised a buffet reception for me and for those readers, They appreciated, you see, how I'd saved them a lot of money in possible lost holiday claims. So these are just some of the hazards that the reader holiday has encountered. So yes, indeed, I have travelled beyond my wildest dreams. There have been many wonderful trips, and I have met hundreds, no, thousands of our readers, and over the years I've got to know some well enough to call them friends. The pleasure they derive from our trips made my job so very worthwhile. I accompanied as many trips as my holiday entitlement allowed, and it sometimes became necessary to ask others to go along to look after our readers. And surprisingly, that wasn't always that easy. Our readers are a funny lot at times anyway, but my thanks to those members of staff who helped as couriers, a job which called for diplomacy, commitment, and the ability to cope with late nights, and they all did that very well. And if we gave the impression that we were a bunch of drunks, that's not only because our pick-up points were recognised by a local pub along the route. We being asked to organise the reader holidays 17 years ago gave me wonderful, wonderful opportunities, and I thank the company for their faith and the faith that they showed in my ability then. I recall being quite worried that I would not be able to cope with the job. Peter and Peter Smith persuaded me I could. And Peter, my husband, has been very, very supportive as ever, and so has Velda and my son John. The demands of the job made life at home difficult sometimes, but they were always helpful. It is great that they are able to share this day with me. There were times during my career when it seemed that we all worked for the Chronicle. Even now, they are ready to pass on a very good story when they hear it, and the newsroom hasn't heard the last from us yet. As an insurance man, Peter met a great many people, and whenever an opportunity arose, he would extol the virtues of the Essex Chronicle and their reader holidays, and I wonder if the increased Braintree and Witham circulation might, in some small way, be due to his efforts.
Everyone.
Got to get the Chronicle. All three editorial directors have been good men to work with. I've very much enjoyed being Stewart Secretary, and I recall when I first joined the company, as he said, he was chief reporter. How nice it is to see a colleague progress through the ranks that way. I have always found him to be a kind and considerate boss, so thank you very much. I will miss the buzz of the newsroom. Their commitment to this paper is not always recognised, and I consider I've been very fortunate to work with such a talented team as those in editorial. Thanks very much indeed. Just one more, as Ray used to say. I'm confident that the Chronicle will continue to go from strength to strength. As one of my former employers once said to me, the biggest penny doesn't always bring the greatest reward. How true that is. There's a lot to be said for job satisfaction. That's what I wish for all of you. And I wish you all health and happiness in the future. And above all, job satisfaction. Oh yes, and a good fat salary increase.
Oh, that's a wish.
You're a great group of people, wonderful colleagues. Thank you very much indeed for your friendship and your generosity.
Can I just remind everybody, if you don't know, that from 12:30 for a couple of hours, Petal is at home in the boardroom, where you will be able to say your own personal farewells to her and also have a bite to eat and a drink. All right, so that's from 12:30. Anybody have something else for you? Yes, we'll bring up.
Well done. Thank you.
Tony going?
Well, we'll see what is there.
That's one more.
Come on. It's lovely, isn't it? It's really nice.
Well, rush out and ask him.
Nice, yeah.
Pop out and ask him if he'd like to come. I'm sure he will.
All right.
Hello, John.
Oh, you're in it
Have a sign in the press, Stuart.
Yes, we're just about.
Don't keep me waiting. Come on, press your
Come on.
press time.
Sorry, I switched that.
Right. Typical, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's all, yeah. Thanks.
Good.
Steve, did you take the sandwich for me?
I did.
You know you're walking backwards in an ideal.
You like?
The cook report.
Right.
Off to you. Got a good view of Velda anyway.
I was in a different position, so...
Is it on or not?
No,
Morning.
Duncan Curran.
I'm Duncan, yes, we've met before.
My son John.
Hello, John. Nice to meet you.
Belgium and Anne.
Hello there.
Hi.
Welcome.
Mary's helm is Duncan's personal
Michael
assistant.
Coates, who's assistant.
Never seen each other before.
Nice to meet you. My son John and my daughter Belda.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Paul Bates, who's been sales director.
Hi.
Hi.
Paul, nice to meet you.
That's Mary.
Right, okay. Who are you waiting for? Is Brian around? I think he's downstairs in the press, actually.
He'll be up in about 2 minutes, Stuart.
Will he? Okay, all right. What we just thought we'd do is just a...
Give me your still.
Oh, really?
Finish it. And then we'll open it up.